Hello YouTube! I'll be doing another book review for you today, and the novel that I chose for you today is Wuthering by Emily Brontë. And I just read this recently and I absolutely loved it. This novel, as through a lot of the reviews that I've watched on YouTube, this gets a really bad rap. A lot of people say it is incredibly depressing and they got nothing out of it, but I really don't see why, because I absolutely loved this novel. I thought it was beautifully written, and even though it's not the most optimistic novel in the world, it is a masterpiece in my opinion. It was written in 1847, published by Emily Brontë, and I really wish that she hadn't kicked the bucket right after she wrote this, because I would have loved to have read more of her works. So the story is an epic story. It goes throughout the lives of several characters of these two families. It goes between two families, the Earnshaws and the Lintons, and they live in two separate houses on the estate, and it is separated by a moor. And the main characters in this book, in the first half of the novel, are this character named Heathcliff, who was an orphan adopted by the Lintons, and he's treated very badly. And so it kind of turns him into a devious, mean character. And there is the daughter of the family opposite of the moor, and her name is Catherine. And Heathcliff and Catherine are... It is what probably the romance of the novel would be, is the romance between Heathcliff and Catherine. And even though it is not a very conventional love, they still have a lot of love for each other. And the other main character in this novel, her name is Nellie, and she is the housekeeper, and she lives with the Lintons. She is their servant. And this whole novel is told as a flashback to a different character. She is telling the story to a Mr. Lockwood, who is actually narrating the entire novel. It is his point of view. Lockwood is telling us what Nellie has told him. And Mr. Lockwood, he is somebody who is going to be renting a house from this estate, and it runs into Mr. Heathcliff, who is now the owner of this estate. And he's very confused at why these characters in the beginning are so foul, and he goes and discusses this with the housekeeper Nellie at the other home, and she explains to him all of the events that have taken place. And I love just how the novel unfurls like this, because it's just very well written, because in the beginning you're just so confused about what is going on, and then throughout the novel everything is explained, and I think it is just wonderfully done. And I just love how Emily Brontë tells the story through Nellie, because she is so unique with how she places where Nellie is, because the Catherine Earnshaw really loves Nellie and tells her many things that are very important to the story, and she also observes everything that's going on with the different characters. And throughout the second part of the novel, it takes place with the next generation, which also involves Catherine Earnshaw's daughter, who's also named Catherine, and Heathcliff's son, and how they interact. And that is also somewhat of like a little bit of a love story as well. But Nellie and Heathcliff are also in the second part of the novel, and it's just a really good progression of family life in this family life. And I found almost all of the characters completely detestable. I thought they were completely unlikable, and I didn't really find any type of virtuous, nice bone in anybody's body. Besides Nellie and Mr. Lockwood, I felt that they were all horrible people, and I guess that is what Emily Brontë wanted, was she wanted to make these characters as detestable as she possibly could, and she succeeded. I feel with her making these characters so unlikable, it really adds to the mood of the novel, because this is not a happy story for the most part. The only thing that is really happy is towards the very end of the novel, when things start to wrap up and there is a bit of happiness at the end. I just feel that this novel was written so well. I did not like this novel because of the characters or the plot, but I was just always involved with how was she going to tell this part of the story? Where was Nellie? What was she doing? What didn't she see that happens, that something has changed now that she didn't see, that has created something totally different in the novel? And she also tells the story through a letter that is written to her that explains a very important part of the novel that she does not see because the characters are not around her. And she also tells parts of the story that she doesn't see and that other people have told her. So it is AA++ for the writing and composition. What was really the point of this story? It is that nobody is perfect, and what I take from the novel is that things that you do now really will reflect on what happens in the future. This is probably the ultimate novel of this time that says, no, it is not perfect out there. This novel really says it like it is, where nobody has a perfect life and you have to make the best of what you have. I feel that this book is a masterpiece of literature, and I understand completely why so many people love this novel and cherish it, and why it is a classic, and I recommend everybody to read this novel.